When peace like a river attendeth my way, when sorrows like sea billows roll, whatever my lot, thou hast taught me to say, it is well, it is well with my soul, it is well with my soul, it is well, it is well with my soul. When peace like a river attendeth my way, when sorrows like sea billows roll, whatever my lot, thou hast taught me to say, it is well, it is well with my soul, it is well with my soul, it is well, it is well with my soul, it is well with my soul, it is well, it is well with my soul.
Thank you so much, Oscar and Lainey, Jonathan and Matt. Thank you so much. It is well with my soul. I love that song, and you may not know the story of that song, but it was the composer whose name I have now forgotten. He had crossed the ocean by sailing ship and waited for his family to meet him, or perhaps sent his family back. I don't actually remember which direction they were going. But his wife and 2 children sank on their boat, and he was left widowed without his children. And as he recovered from that, he asked, he needed to make that same transatlantic crossing. And he asked the captain, it happened to be the same captain, and he asked, where did the ship sink? Where did the ship sink? And as they got to that place, latitude and longitude, they got to that place, the captain said it was here. And that's what he wrote. It is well with my soul. What an extraordinary thing, right? To be in the middle of grief or challenge or upset or pandemic or confusion or overwhelm or all of that. And to be able to say, it is well with my soul. This is the place that we come to when we are moving into our third level of consciousness, our third stage of consciousness in spiritual development. The stage itself is called through me. But the portal from the second stage by me, where I'm making my life happen and I'm doing it and I'm on top of everything and it's my attitude and I'm speaking my word and all of those kinds of things, the portal from that into the recognition that there's something much larger going on, it's the portal of surrender. Now, surrender is not a word that we particularly care for, especially not in metaphysics and New Thought, because and in the United States, we don't like that word because we think of surrender as giving in and losing. We surrender things that we are no longer allowed to have, or we surrender in war, those kinds of things. And we have, we have very negative connotations. And I certainly have had a lot of negative connotations with the word surrender. And and have had to really spend some time. What does that mean? And it's interesting, if you go to the website and you look at the write-up of the 4 stages of consciousness, it's on the slider. Anyway, there'll be a link there'll be a link that you can use. There's a write-up, and then there's a little map of these developmental stages. And the portal from stage 1 to stage 2 goes up through the portal of responsibility, but the portal of surrender is a slide downward into the 3rd stage, which is through me. And that slide downward is deliberate. Many of us go kicking and screaming. Often it is precipitated by the dark night of the soul, or it comes about because all of our doing and making and happening and causing and starts to feel exhausting and maybe doesn't work as well as we thought it was going to. Or we discover that we've manifested the house, the job, the car, the relationship, the money, the ability to do all the things that we want to do. We've manifested all of those things, and we're still not peaceful, or we're still not experiencing the presence of the divine. We're still feeling stress. We're still not fulfilled and happy. So this slide into surrender, rather than thinking of it as giving in, I always like to ask, what are we surrendering from, and what are we surrendering into? What are we giving up? And what are we allowing ourselves to fall into? So the things we have to surrender from are all of those things that allow us to believe that we're in control, that we know what it is, that we know how things are supposed to be, and we are very clear about the things that we want to experience, based on our egoic need to be validated, feel like we belong, be seen as something that, was a picture that we bought into. Basically, we need to surrender from our idea about who we are and what our human life is about. We have to surrender from the idea that anything outside of us is going to fill us up, make us happy, or fill us up from this direction, right? Which is, of course, the consumer society and the American dream that we live in today. So we surrender from those things, and we surrender from our analytical and emotional need to figure it out, to know how it's going to be done, to have the plan in place, to understand every step along the way, to be assured that it's going to work. We have to surrender from all of that. Why? Because we begin to have an inkling that it's not our power that's making anything happen. That there's not just the spirit dwelling within me that I have discovered in the stage 2, but that there is actually something much larger and universal going on. That there is, in fact, a universal power and a universal law that's running the universe. And it is the very thing that we are using when we do our spiritual work to move our lives forward and to create a life that isn't just about acquiring or acquisition or how it looks on the outside. It isn't about a life that's filling us up. It's about creating a life that expresses who we really are, that allows us to give our gift, that allows us to be ourselves. So what are we surrendering to? We're surrendering to the universal power and presence. We're surrendering to the fact that we trust that the universe knows how to get us from wherever we are that's not where we want to be, or that is in an unhealed state, or simply that isn't the fullness of our dreams. We surrender to the fact that the universal law actually knows how to get us from here to there. We surrender to our intuition that says, my brain says I should go that way. My heart says I should go that way. But my intuition, it says I should go this way. And so we surrender into those things that seem serendipitous or kind of crazy or outside of the box or all of those things. We surrender our need to feel comfortable. We surrender our need to figure it out. We surrender our need to know how it is all going to happen. We surrender to this thing that is larger than us. And we begin to recognize that we can count on it. That no matter how crazy everything is around us, we can be in that perfect place of peace and calm and just deal with what's going on. That slide into surrender is a powerful place of acceptance. This is what is. This craziness, whatever it is what is. And it's a product of everything that's come before this. There is a power and a presence that works through me that can make it different in the next moment. But right now, I surrender. Ultimately, the most fundamental thing we surrender is our resistance. Our resistance to anything. Our resistance about anything. It is as we surrender that resistance that we can allow it to be what it is and for life to unfold. And we can say in that craziness, actually, it is well with my soul. In that moment, we touch that place where we live in the peace that passes understanding. Because our friends and family will be like, how can you be peaceful in this moment? It doesn't mean we're resigned. It doesn't mean it's okay. It means that we understand that there is a universal power and presence. And that's what we're going to talk about after we hear this beautiful opportunity for us to see how life moves through us with Oscar and his violin. So we want to thank Oscar for that beautiful rendition of Serenade by Schubert. And, you know, it is in those moments where we are present to what is that we're allowing life to unfold. So the third stage of spiritual development is when we add to our directive practice or directive experience, that is the second stage. We begin to move into that deep place where we're receptive to how life wants to express as us. This is called through me. We recognize that I'm a channel or a vessel for life. And really what I'm trying to do constantly is move out of the way. Get my little self out of the way. Get my fear or my insecurity or my need to control or my uncertainty or my false idea about that somebody's unhappy with me or that it's not going to work out, right? I have to keep working to get my littleness out of the way so that the beauty of life can show up. It can show up as me, and it can show up in the situation that I find myself in. I can see the moments of beauty and I can be in the flow. So through me is a place where we recognize there is something so much more beautiful and so much bigger going on. In stage 2, we really embrace the indwelling presence. In spirituality, that's called the imminence of the divine. It is immanent within us. It is right here, right now, and within all creation. In the third stage of spiritual development, we really begin to grasp that there is still a transcendent mystery. While the infinite universe may be all that we are not all of that. We are not actually managing the universe, and we should resign from that immediately. Resign from running everything else and everybody else, and resign from that to allow the universe to do what it does, which is to know how to do things. To recognize that this power, this universal law, this law of cause and effect is actually always working. And it's working always in our life. It's always working from our thoughts and attitudes out into our life experience. And so we surrender to that truth, and we become obedient to the fact that we are responsible for the cause. We hold out in our minds the effect. Those are all the skills we learned in stage 2. We bring those with us, but now we let go of any control or need to know about the place in between, because we move into that place of trust of the universe. We move into recognizing that there is a law of growth. There is an organically unfolding thing that's happening all the time in the universe, and it's actually happening in our own lives. And we have to get out of the way. We have to stop mucking around and trying to figure out, well, is it going to be this? And I have to do that, and then I have to do that, and then I have to do that. No. All we have to do is set the cause in motion, keep the end results in mind, and get out of the way. And then listen. Listen to the nudge. Listen to the direction. Listen to the idea. Go that way. Try that. Do that. Open that door. Call that person. Right? We're listening to the way life is seeking to flow through us. And do you see what a different direction that is about life? We're beginning to recognize that it isn't. Our whole life and our metaphysics and our manifestation is not about acquisition. It's about expression and experience. In this stage, we enter into that kingdom of consciousness that is allowing us to begin to reverse the flow. That our life is an expression of spirit flowing through us, as only it can flow through us, through the unique filter that we are. Nobody will play that violin solo, that violin piece exactly the way that Oscar would play it, because that's his unique way of playing it. Nobody would give this talk exactly the way that I give this talk. Nobody does your life exactly the way that you do it. And Spirit has need of that And there's this beautiful Emerson quote that says, surely the fact that I am here shows that the soul has need of an organ here. Shall I not assume the post? Shall I not allow myself to be the hands and arms and feet and eyes and voice of the divine, of love, of peace? Shall I not allow it to use me as its way of showing up in the world? Shall I not assume the post? He goes on to say that we are the pipe and the light shines through us. The virtue of the pipe is to be hollow and smooth. The virtue of the light, that is all. And it is in this stage of consciousness that we begin to embrace that. And we let go of all the little foibles and all the ways in which we limit ourselves and all the ways in which we get in the way. All the times that we are too engrossed in the manufacturing of things, or we get too lost in our own feelings or our own thoughts about stuff. We set all of that aside and we allow the light to shine through. So in this stage, right, I would say that the perfect word for this stage is trust. Whereas I think some perfect words for stage 2 are power, empowerment, and declaration, and things like that, attitude. In this case, it's trust. And we use the term awareness. We'd use the term awakening. I'm awakening to the fact that it's not just this little me is trying to manufacture all these things, that there's actually something so much larger going on. And so that even in the midst of challenge or tragedy or chaos or unhappiness or all kinds of things that are going on, I can move into that place where I say, it is well with my soul. I trust that the universe is supporting me. I trust the universe is supporting us. I trust life is for good, even if I can't see it, because it's only my littleness that can't see it. And it doesn't matter. I don't have to see it. I can trust that. And so in this process, one of the ways and places that I have most deeply experienced this, or shall we say practiced it, because it's not something that just happens and then you're like in it all the time, but the way that I practice it is any time that I find myself in a speaking situation, a teaching situation, or in a coaching situation with a client where I think, I don't exactly know what's going to happen next. I don't exactly know what to say or what to do, or right, and I can feel my own insecurity or my own fear or my own is it going to be good enough, or all that blah, 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 right? And for me, the way that I practice, because I know in that moment I'm being called to stand in this developmental stage, to be developed into that place of trust, is what I say to myself is, well, I may not know, but spirit within me, it does know. And now I'm going to get myself out of the way, open my mouth, and see what comes out. That is my experience of living in the stage 3 through me. When we hear people talking about, I've downloaded it, or I've just allowed inspiration to flow, or I am allowing it to emerge from within, or I am just going with the flow. Do you see, these are all the ways in which we describe being fully in that stage, that level of consciousness of I am getting out of my own way, and I'm allowing life to pour through me. So this week, I'm really going to invite you to practice, right? And let me see one last thing. It's not like we leave the skill sets that we learned in stage 2. We don't leave them behind. We bring them into stage 3 because I have to take responsibility for getting out of the way. I have to take responsibility for recognizing that I am causal, and that I have to declare my end result. I've practiced all of those skills. I've developed them. They're getting stronger and stronger and stronger. I don't forget all of that. I take it with me. And the very will that I have learned to discipline in stage 2, I now use to open that space so that the pipe will be hollow and smooth, so that the light will shine, so that the love will flow, so that the peace will be present. Do you see? It's like development. It's cumulative, and we bring it with us. So this week, I invite you, no matter where you find yourself, whatever situation you find yourself in, is to see if you can move in that moment to the place of, it is well with my soul. I set myself aside, and I allow spirit or love or life or whatever quality it is to flow through me right here and right now. Let us fully embrace that we can live in this stage of consciousness through me.